the confetti case because I am. All you need is some vinyl, some fabric scraps for your confetti, a Teflon foot so that your sewing foot doesn't stick to the vinyl, and a good attitude. I'm going to walk you through it. The pattern is at sewhungryhippie.com. It's called the confetti case. You'll need that for all the measurements. This is just meant to help you through the pattern in case, I don't know, in case. Thanks for being here and thanks for subscribing. Alright, for the confetti case, you're going to want 2 linings. I'm going to use this cotton and steel. 2 exteriors that are relatively plain. I'm just using Essex linen blend. And then 4 pieces of SF101 woven interfacing. I'm going to be using the glitter vinyl for the overlay so that hopefully it's more easily seen than just plain clear. Lots of wonder clips because you can't stick pins in vinyl. Rotary cutter, scissors, whatever you need there. And then the fun part, the scraps of solids or whatever you're using. Also, we're going to use a 10.5-inch zipper. So you'll probably want to buy an 11-inch zipper and then trim it down to size like I do. I don't know which color I'm going to use yet. I usually wait until it's time to put it in. So let's get started. First, we're going to take the interfacing and fuse it onto the back of exteriors and lining. Grab some colorful scraps from your scrap bin. I'm going to trim some pieces here. I like to have a nice mix, a bit of everything. Nothing too big because then it gets in the way. And you don't need a lot. You can just use very small amounts. I'm just going to show you what I do. So I like to use my bigger rotary cutter. I'm going to grab that. I use Havells exclusively because they feel the best in my hand. They have a really nice ergonomic shape. Once you've got it down to small enough pieces to suit you, which is really your own preference. There's no right or wrong here. Look at that. That's so fun, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is grab one exterior. This goes really fast. I hope you love it as much as I do. Just going to grab a handful of this and kind of sprinkle it around. Come back in and get some more. And I just kind of play with it until it's where I like it. You want to stay out of the seams a little bit. I'd say like at least a ½ inch around so that you're not frustrated when you're sewing this together. Now I'm going to do that same thing to the other side. You can use less or more. It's really just whatever you want to do. So fun. All right. Now get the clips and your vinyl pieces and lay it right on top. This is where the clips come in handy. And you're going to clip all the way around. I kind of do 4 sides. I do one on each side first, and then I go back in and put more. The reason we're not using pins is because pins will make holes in the vinyl and they don't come out. Okay, there, that one's done. Now you are going to need to put on your Teflon foot, and a Teflon foot simply means that it doesn't stick, so it won't stick and rub to your vinyl. My machine is very basic. It's a Bernina 1008, so there's no bells or whistles at all. But let me tell you, I don't have to do anything else special with this machine. All I do is put on my Teflon foot and start sewing. So let me get this here. Really, I should put on my extension table right now to hold this piece for me, but I think it's downstairs, so I'm just going to sew. I'm turning it to a basting stitch. I'm going to go all around the outer edges. Stop with my needle down and pivot. You want to do an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance here so that you don't see it once you put the bag together. Unless you want to see it. Okay, so now it's attached and you can see everything is free in there. And if you want to stop here, you certainly can. But what I like to do is to make sure that the vinyl is somewhat secured, because otherwise all that confetti will go to the bottom when your zipper clutch is standing up. So I'm just going to stay here and show you what I do. Turn my stitch back to a 2.5 to 3 millimeter. I'm going to go back and forth a couple times to lock stitch it. And then just start stitching your pattern. You probably want to trim that first thread out of the way. And because we have that vinyl foot, this is super, super, super easy. There it is. So this panel is done. That's pretty cool, right? I'm just going to repeat that process with this panel, and I'll meet you back here in a minute. Trim your threads and trim the vinyl to make sure it's the same size as your body pieces. I cut mine a little large. And not really on purpose, sometimes I cut too fast and I end up making my pieces too big. I have these non-stick shears from Havells, and they're so incredible. Like, they don't catch on the vinyl at all. They're amazing. Okay, our two exterior body pieces are finished. Our lining pieces are interfaced and ready to go. So let's do the zipper tabs. I think I'm gonna go with, I think I'm gonna go with this watermelon zipper. So 2 pieces for zipper tabs. We're gonna fold them towards the center like a binding. And then fold again, so it's like a little Pac-Man. Let me show you that again. You can fold first, bring the raw edges together to make a crease. Oh, mine has a little fold there. And then you're going to bring those short ends in to meet in the center to that crease line we just made. Give it a press and fold again. So now you have a fold on one long edge and an open part on the other long edge. Now, it's really important to make sure your zipper is exactly 10.5 inches. So I'm going to measure here. Mine is measuring at 11, so I'm going to trim it down to exactly 10.5. And I like to cut off that metal butt of the zipper. I don't want to sew over that, so I just cut that off. I'm going to take one zipper tab, place it all the way in and over, and we're going to sew right down this edge. I'm going to use a clip for now to hold it in place. Then on the other end, exactly the same thing, all the way to the fold. Fold it over and use a clip to hold it in place, and we will sew right along there. Oh, my thread came out. And just sew right across there. Do the same thing on this one. If you're using a nylon coil zipper like I am, you can just sew straight across it. If you're using metal for the teeth, hand crank over the metal teeth. Okay, trim the tabs to be the same width as the zipper. So now the zipper is ready to go. I'm going to take one exterior piece, lay the zipper right sides down facing this, and have about a finger width on each end, because that's where we're going to sew the case shut, and you don't want to be sewing over the zipper tabs. So I will use my clips again to hold it in place. There is a really faint line on the zipper tape that will guide you to make a straight line. So go ahead and sew right on that line. I'm going to switch to my zipper foot because it's much easier to sew a zipper on with a zipper foot. All right, zipper foot is on, needle is moved over, test hand crank, and it's good to go. So I can sew this down. So this side is sewn on. I'm just going to trim my thread there. Now take a lining piece, place it right on top, and align those top edges again. Use clips. I'm going to flip it over. Now my sides are even, and I can see where I just stitched, so I'm going to sew right on that stitching line again. Feel I'm coming up to the zipper head here. All right, so it's attached. I'm going to flip it back so that the wrong sides are together, so you're looking at both of the right sides. And I like to really press this with my fingers quite firmly. I always flip this over and make sure that that lining is down and away from the zipper teeth, because too many times I have caught that lining up in the zipper and had to unpick. So don't do that. You can press from this side lightly. Do not press with your iron on top of the vinyl. Okay, one side is attached. Now I'm going to do the other side. Take the other exterior, take this side that we just sewed, exteriors, right sides together, aligning the top edges of the zipper tape and the exterior, and use clips to hold in place. Make sure your sides are even. And once again, sew all the way down that edge. Sometimes people like to reach in and move that zipper head out of the way. With the zipper foot, you shouldn't run into it, but if it feels lumpy, go ahead and move it. Okay, don't fold anything away yet. We've still got that top raw edge. We just attached the other exterior, so now take the remaining, the last piece of the lining, and place it right sides together on top of the other lining. and align the top edges. So this is where some people get really mixed up. So let me show you this again. We just sewed on this exterior piece, right? We're just turning it over so we can see the lining. Take the other lining, lay it right sides together, and align those top edges. Clip into place. Now I can see that I've got it over a little bit too much, so I'm going to move this over a bit. That's a common mistake too, to mess up the side edges there. So just take your time, not a race. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over so I can see where I just sewed, and I'm going to sew right on that line again. Every time you stop, make sure your needle is down. My machine doesn't do that automatically, so I have to make sure I press my foot. Press this away. Flip it over. See how that lining wanted to bunch up there? Got to make sure to straighten it out. Straighten them both out again. They'll probably need a little tug and a quick shot of iron. Quick press. Beautiful. Now at this point I'm going to top stitch because I like the look of a nice top stitch. So all through the layers here I'm making sure that everything is nice and neat and flat, and I'm going to top stitch all the way down, and I lengthen my stitch to about a 4. I just like the look of it, so here I go. Take off my zipper foot, got to put back on my Teflon foot. Move my needle over, do a little test. Yep, looks good. Again, I'm going to check that lining, make sure everything is really flat. Nothing's going to get caught. And I don't have to push, it's just going to take it on its own. Now because I'm coming up here to the zipper head, my needle is down in the project. I'm going to zip it out of the way. There we go. Now the other side. Make sure your lining is good and you're not catching anything on the back. Mine is still good. That press did it well. Here I come up to meet that zipper head. Done. We're going to sew starting at the lining here. Leave a 4 to 6 inch gap. That's about 5 inches there. And sew all the way around the bag and stop here. So you're going to have an opening here for turning later. Let's do that first and I'll meet you back here. This is a normal stitch length. You're going right by those zipper tabs, not over them. This is a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I say generous 1/4 inch because it's probably not a perfect 1/4 inch for me. We have sewn all the way around except for the lining opening. So now let's box the corners. So you're going to measure 1 inch from the raw seam in and 1 inch up. So I like to use my acrylic ruler. It makes it easy for this side anyways. And I'm going to draw my box. You could do it from your mat underneath like this. And here's the other box. So there's those 2 boxes. Now I'm going to do it for this one. I've done this a million times, I think probably literally, so I'm going quite fast. If you're new to this process, measure this twice and check yourself, because I've messed it up many a times and now I just know what these look like. So then you're going to come in with scissors and you're going to cut out those boxed corners. Now these seem quite small, but this is going to give us a 2-inch gusset. So it's going to be nice and roomy. Whatever size boxed corner you're cutting, you're going to get double that for the gusset. All right. Okay, let's pull apart the sides here. Let me get a little closer. So I'm pulling apart the sides and I'm going to match those seams and then nest them. So one seam is going this way and one seam is going this way. Now usually I would use a pin here, but my pins are downstairs. So I'm going to hold it in place with a clip here. Same for this lining. Pull it apart, nest the seams. One goes one way, one goes the other way. Now for the exteriors, you're going to want to use clips because it's vinyl. And nest those seams. Match the seams and then nest them. We're almost there. How exciting. And you can see with this, you don't need a ton of interfacing because that vinyl gives the bag a really nice body. And I'm using 10 gauge vinyl. I've also used 12 gauge. There is some confusion in the vinyl world, but I'm going with what the factory tells me, and 10 gauge is the thinner one. 12 gauge is slightly thicker, but still very easy to sew. 20 gauge is quite thick, according to the factory. Now, I know there's another designer and her 20 gauge is not thick, so you just have to kind of be aware and check millimeters. I always give millimeter thickness on the vinyl that I sell. Okay, so we're just going to sew right across there and right across that corner, just like in the pattern it shows you. Right across there at a 1/2 inch. If I set it like this, maybe that's just right across that boxed edge. And I use 1/2 inch seam allowance roughly and do two rows of stitching. I'm going to unplug my iron here. Okay, let's turn this bag right side out for the final reckoning. If you're having trouble with the vinyl, pop a little hair dryer in here for like, 20, 30 seconds and warm that vinyl up, and then it'll be really soft and malleable and more easily turned. I've constructed He-Man wrists by now with all my vinyl work, so I'm just going to go for it. Time to push out those bottom corners. I have to really stick my finger and thumb down in there and push them out. And then the same thing for the top. So these zipper tabs, they're not going to naturally pop out for you. You have to come in here with your thumb and really push them out. It feels kind of unnatural, but you just got to get in there and push those babies out. Okay, yes, that looks awesome. Now come along all your seams here. Push them all out. Okay, I'm going to bring back over my little pressing mat. Push out the corners of your lining. And then tuck in that opening. I fold it in, you know, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch on each side, just depending however it wants to lay naturally, that's how much I fold it in. Just making sure the raw seams are inside. Now some people like to whip stitch this and do all that, but I just machine this shut. So I'll be right back. It's in the bottom anyways, you know. I'm not going to get all anal about that. Okay, tuck it in. If you want to, you can hit it with a small iron from the inside. Again, don't iron your vinyl directly. You're going to melt it and mess up your iron. Trim any stray threads you've got going on, and there's your case. Cute, right? I mean, how fun and fast and unique. No two will ever be the same. Yes, you can sell these if you make them. Tag me. I'd love to see your work. I share whenever I can. All right, I'll see you on the upside.